week 16 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few wide receivers. I have his sleepers this week. The first receiver, Jalen Coker of the Carolina Panthers. Coker, he's out there in 92% of fantasy leagues. And now with Tator McMillan not practicing to open up the week, there's a possibility he could be out and Coker will step into even more of an expanded role. Even though the last 3 out of 4 games he's had double-digit fantasy points with McMillan in there. Coker, week 11 in Atlanta, 4 catches, 52 yards, a 2-point conversion. Week 12 at the Niners, 3 catches, 32 yards. Week 13 versus the Rams, 4 catches, 74 yards, a touchdown. And week 15 in New Orleans, 4 catches, 60 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble loss. So this week it's a matchup for first place over here. We know Tampa Bay's defense isn't that great against wide receivers. They're middle of the pack defense. And like I said, if McMillan's out in this game as well, Coker is going to step into more of a role and get more targets in this game. Where we know Carolina, they got to put points on the board if they want to keep up with Tampa's offense, where they could easily score 24, 28 points is this Tampa offense. This week, Coker I have as a sleeper. The next receiver, Donnie Mitchell of the New York Jets. So the Jets, they're running out there, the young wide receivers, and the young quarterback rookie Brady Cook going to start once again for this New York Jet team. And this week it's a decent matchup at the New Orleans Saints. I know the defense has played better over the last couple of weeks, but at Donnie Mitchell, the last 2 out of 3 weeks, 15 or more fantasy points in PPR leagues. Week 13 versus Atlanta, 8 catches, 102 yards, a touchdown. Week 14 versus the Dolphins, a catch, 24 yards. And week 15 at Jacksonville, he had good rapport with Brady Cook, even though a lot of it was garbage time, losing 48-20 in that one. But he had a good game, like I said, 6 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. So this week in the matchup in New Orleans, where this could be a closer game, obviously, than last week. But Donnie Mitchell, he was a first-round pick from the Colts for a reason, and he's starting to show some flashes with his new team in the New York Jets. So this week, Mitchell's a sleeper option, and he's out there in tons of fantasy leagues still with 82%. And the final wide receiver I have as a sleeper is Kayshon Boutte of the New England Patriots. So Boutte, he's been hit or miss this season at the wide receiver position. He's out there still in 72% of fantasy leagues, and he just came off injury in week 12. And since he returned, it hasn't been great numbers, but this Patriot offense, I think they got to keep their foot on the gas after last week blowing a 21-0 lead and losing that ball game. Week 12 at Cincinnati, 2 catches, 15 yards. Week 13 versus the Giants, 4 catches, 35 yards, a touchdown. And week 15 versus Buffalo, only the 1 target and a catch, 30 yards. So this week in Baltimore, a good matchup on paper. Ravens give up the 12th most fantasy points to wide receivers on the season, even though I know last week they shut out Cincinnati's offense. But I think Kayshon Boutte this week, it wouldn't be surprising to me if he has 30, 40 yards and possibly finds the end zone. So that's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers for week 16 of the fantasy football season.